Hey, Revenge fans, this is Chris from Revenge Performance. We got Hunter behind the camera here. Got Ben over here just chilling. We are at Kearney, Nebraska right now, checking out some really sweet race cars. Man, I think every year at these events, cars get cooler. Just there's such a wide variety of cars. And I mean, you get cars like this, they're fast, they got perfectly straight body stuff and everything. It's just really awesome to see these cars being maintained to this level, being driven. Everybody's already driven probably over 500 miles, I would say, for the most part. Because yesterday we came from Pueblo to Kearney, and that was 420 miles through dusty Kansas. And saw quite a number of folks that had one thing or the other to fix. But I think most people are here. In case you hadn't guessed, though, we're not here with the Stealth. We tried the best we could, and really nobody on the team gave up, but the Stealth just could not make it. Wednesday night, which we're supposed to be leaving Thursday, Wednesday night at midnight, after we got a bunch of things packed up, we were putting together some packages for some people, shipping out some rear ends, some last minute stuff that we wanted to get so you didn't have to wait another week for some of that stuff. And we've been working on the boost control of the week. Car's been running perfect. Transmission's been working perfect. Actually, I'd been through the transmission the week before because I'm like, I don't want to get out here and have transmission problems again, so let's just take it apart and go through it and look at it. Everything looked great. So I went through the transmission, everything looked great, all the clutches are good. Really just about put it back together, right? No problems. We've been running a lot bigger cooler, and we've been running an external filter. Keekley kind of recommended that big K&N filter that the Raceweek comes out of the converter, goes through that, and everything seemed real happy. But we were only getting about 15 or 16 pounds boost. So we didn't know if we had a mechanical problem in the boost controller, because last year we had the same problem, but we'd melted a boost controller line, and so we put new PTFE lines in for everything because a couple of them run pretty close to the exhaust, and we were even melting the push lock fittings. So we went back to PTFE vibrant lines, all 4AN, hard fittings everywhere, and pretty much the best you can do besides literally bending up hard lines, which is kind of really a lot of job for that when you have twin turbos and you're going to both ports on the wastegate. You have like 4 different lines and T's and everything everywhere. So we got all that set up, but we weren't getting the boost we wanted. So I ordered a new boost solenoid we got in, but I tested it electrically and it clicked and everything. I thought it was okay. Still weren't getting any boost, so I thought maybe the duty cycle was just a little bit lower than it needed to be. Because when you got a max solenoid valve, there's like a range where they don't do anything, basically, right? Somewhere around 15 to 20%, they kind of don't do anything. And if you go from like 15 to 25%, you might get like a ton of boost, depending on your setup. So I kept creeping up, and I finally got it to 20%. Britt and I went testing at midnight on Wednesday night. Hey, we got 20 pounds. Man, that's great. We'll just keep creeping on up this week, going faster and faster. Everything's seeming great. We're on like a little bitty road trip, 10, 20 miles, just to test things out. With the boost control, all of a sudden, it goes from like 4th to some imaginary gear between 3rd and 4th. And we're like, uh-oh, we burned out the 4th clutch again. Which we shouldn't have done that, because I've got the car set up to downshift at a very low throttle point. And we also run our 5-disc clutch in overdrive, which has been working real well. So we just put it in drive, and we start heading home, because it needs fixed, actually. We get back to a stoplight to get on the interstate to get to my house, and like it's barely taking off at first. It's going to like 2nd, slipping. And so I'm like, okay, maybe we smoked the band somehow. Not sure. But we get me crawling back to the house, barely pulling to my driveway. I'm like, there's something worse wrong with this than the band. So I disconnect the solenoid so it's in 3rd gear, and we're able to crawl her in the garage. So we're like, okay, it's like 12:30 in the morning. We're supposed to be leaving at like 9 a.m. But we're like, no, all we can do is check this transmission out and see what's going on, right? None of us are going to give up. My brother Dick was there, Brent's there, Hunter's there. We're going to get this thing done. So we take the transmission out. which on these Stealth and 3000 GTs is kind of time consuming because they're all-wheel drive. There's a lot of axles and stuff to pull out. You know, even when things go real well, it takes an hour and a half. You know, if you had like every single tool you could possibly need just lined up perfectly, you could probably do it in an hour if you had a lift. I'm on like a quick jack at my house, so we don't get it done that fast. But we have it out by 2 a.m. I think. So we start pulling the gear set out of the transmission, and all the clutches look fine. So I'm like, what's going on with this? We get deeper and deeper, and we pull the planetary set out. The forward planetary set, the gears are completely melted off. So there was rollers here that melted, and we were trying to see if this piece was there, which I know it kind of looks like it, but that's just the melted material. I think I omitted this on this assembly. Like I said, we don't do autos for people because we're learning all this. And if we take some measurements here, this is basically a bearing race, flat bearing race, thrust washer. So that's supposed to go there, right? And then you got this, right? Everything's happy. You take this out of here, do that maybe. That's why it's important to keep a clean workspace so you count all your parts.
What?
This goes together. You know, maybe that doesn't cause an immediate problem, but the problem is this bearing is going to be running on this not hard surface or a skier surface here that's not flat. And for one thing, you're probably going to have some motion like this because this isn't made to have that gap in it, which is going to mash piss out of these bearings. But also, those rollers are going to be running on this non-bearing surface, and it's going to eat them up. So, to clarify, if we put this washer in here, which apparently has got legs, we put this washer in here, we get a depth measurement. And this isn't the right tool to actually measure depth, I know, guys. But say it's like 220, 225. If we check this, I'm getting like 292. And then if we measure our washer, we're getting like 70s. So unless that just utterly disintegrated, I didn't put that in, this transmission. And it killed this whole transmission because of that washer. So, because I really found it hard to believe that power did that, or lubrication, because the rest of the materials, bearings and clutches and stuff, all looks really good. So it's like if we had a severe lubrication problem, it'd be all bad. We took the pump apart. It looks pretty good. Obviously had some material go through it, but it looks pretty good. So I think that's it, and that's why never jump to conclusions about parts or the actual origin of failures, because something as small as this can ruin your whole transmission. I mean, if one of you guys had to have one of these built with all the upgrades and stuff, well, that's not it. We're switching cores because it's dirty. I mean, you might have $5,000–6,000 in one of these transmissions, and so A, trust who you're working with. B, if you're doing it yourself, we took a video earlier of every washer that goes in here, and so we're going to post that up for posterity's sake, because this is a transmission that's never been opened as far as we know. And the Mitsubishi diagrams tell you where all this stuff goes, but I find them pretty hard sometimes to read and know exactly which one's which, because there's some extremely minor differences on some of them. So anyway, I hope that's helpful. On top of that, don't give up on your transmission or engine program just because you're having issues. Because I mean, if we would have just gave up, somebody would figure this out eventually. It's gonna work for them, and we're gonna be like, "Well, it never worked for us." It's like, well, that's because you made a mistake. It's not because the parts are bad.
And how long were you able to drive on this transmission before it roasted?
Oh yeah, I mean, we probably put 50, 60 miles on it before it did this, and it seemed perfect. So it wasn't making any noises, shifting perfectly. Everything was great, but I'm sure that whole time it was eating this bearing up. And once that bearing got ate up enough, you're gonna have a couple of failures here, at least I think. So this is going to eventually grind, and you're going to get some monkey wobble motion here that's going to eat your planetary set out. So anyway, really I watch a lot of drag and drive events, and I tell you what, even if you're not competitive, it's hard. But like, can't lose completely if you don't give up. That's just a fact. So, especially if you got great friends, people you work with, willing to spend all night on a Wednesday working on this stuff, you're gonna be fine. I mean, like, there's no teeth at all. So I'm like, I don't even know how this got in the garage. So we're like digging through it, and taking measurements. There's a tiny little thrust washer in there. But I think last week when I went through it, I left it out on the planetary set. Man, really keep your stuff organized, because I just missed one little washer, and it caused the bearing that the forward planetary little drive gear runs on to melt, and then that, obviously allows the gears to not be concentric and all that, and it melted the gears out of it. At least that's our working theory. Obviously until we get a thing together and it runs for a long time without an issue, I don't know for sure, but that's our working theory. So we basically got a planetary set just melted down. There's chunks everywhere from the bearings and the gear teeth, and we're like, okay, we don't have the time to clean this transmission properly. So I have a number of these cores from 6272, W4A33. So we just grabbed a different one, and it's about 4 a.m. We're like, okay, we're getting used to this, so let's lay down for like 3 hours. Woke back up at like 7:30, grab all our transmission parts we can gather up, and we head over to the shop and we clean all this second unit to us. We've started from scratch, build a whole other unit, very careful. Keep track of every damn little thing as it comes apart, put everything back together. We had to put our performance items from our old transmission in it, like we have a Kigley front 6-disc clutch, and we have transfer gears from Liberty, and we have a rear clutch from Jeff Bush. And so we get all that cleaned up. We do all the specs and everything on it, and everything seems real good. This transmission, which is going to be important later, this transmission came out of a Diamante from Japan, which were all-wheel drive, the high model ones, okay? So, get this thing all together, and we get it back in the car, and it's Friday at 2 a.m. or 2 p.m. None of us have hardly slept more than 8 hours in 2 or 3 days, and we all decide, and kind of gather everybody up, and it's like, we got 16 hours to get to Pueblo. Our drive to Pueblo is 16 hours from Southeast Missouri. And so we're like, if we don't get this car working properly by 3:30 today, we're just going to take my truck. Because at that point, we're not even going to make the first race, basically. Because if we drove through the night, it would be like time to get in tech, at the race. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that to everybody, because we're going to be useless the rest of the week, and I want to get a little bit of sleep. So, but if we leave at 3:30, we can get to, we were stopping in Hays, Kansas, and it's like we can sleep for 3 hours and get back on the road, and that'll be okay. We'll sleep Saturday after the races. So we thought that'd be cool. Get the car all back together, we'll get this thing on jack stands, fired up the first time, and man, it's just great. Goes through the gears, just bang, 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 bang. Best it's ever done, almost, We tried a little bit different band adjustment on it this time, and it is the best shift on what we've seen so far. And so, man, we're all high-fiving. This is great. Worked our asses off, and it's going to pay off. So, I noticed right away the alternator's not charging, and stupid me had arced the battery earlier with a wrench, and I'm like, I probably blew diodes out of the alternator, right? You can do that if you dead short the alternators. And I'm like, I got a spare alternator at the shop. You guys start taking the radiator out, and I'll go get the alternator. So we had the alternator swapped, I don't know, 40 minutes, something like that. Start the car, it's charging. Okay, kick ass, that's exactly what I thought it was. So we think we're cool. We set the car on the ground. Brother and I are like, he's got a really sensitive neck. He has a really sensitive ear for like problems with mechanical items. He really does. He can pick up a misfire from like a mile away. And so he's like, I want to ride to see if I hear anything weird in this transmission. And we don't get 10 feet out of my driveway, and I'm like, this is not right. It's like thumping and bumping and making noises. And so we run it back and forth in my driveway like a bunch of times, and it's like locking up the right front and like the right rear, the left rear. It just changes what tire it's like locking up. And we're like, oh gosh, maybe we had broke the weld in the center diff or something, but this is really bound up. Something else is wrong. And so we put the car on the lift again, and yeah, works perfect. So we're like, okay, it's like 4 o'clock. There's no way we're gonna be able to fix this. We certainly can't take the transmission out again. Nobody has enough sleep to freaking even do that. We're just gonna. I mean, we've been working on the business this whole time too. Like I said, we were shipping items that afternoon after we hardly slept. Making sure people get their stuff. Because some of these items, like I was rebuilding the rear end for Dennis Beck, if I didn't get that out that day, he wasn't gonna get it for like 8 days. And we were waiting for some seals to come in for some other rear ends, but I wanted to get them all the way ready so that when that seal gets in, it goes right together. So we're like, we're just gonna take truck. Okay, so we're packing. I hadn't even packed any clothes yet because I've been working all week on the car, and I got to thinking a lot. I'm like, it acts like the front diff is a different ratio on this transmission. Because I mean, if the diff was broken somehow in the center diff, I don't think it would act quite like this. It might slip under load, but like just driving in my driveway and it's locking a tire up every once in a while, there's something wrong with the ratios on this, right? So we can't confirm that because with the way the transmission sits in the chassis, you can't get the front diff plate off while it's in the car hardly. You definitely cannot replace the front diff while it's in the car. So we make the decision to leave. Meanwhile, my brother's gotten food poisoning real bad, and he ends up having to stay home. And so Hunter and Brett and I are like, we're going to go to the event. We're going to road week. We're going to support the event. We're sponsors of limited street classes here at Raceweek 2.0. And I want to support the event. I want to see these cars, and we'll have a relaxing week. So I did a bunch of research while I'm on the road. Brent's driving. He's basically a long haul truck driver the way he goes sometimes. It was really hard to figure out even what car this transmission came out of. So, because with the part number on it, was a little different than mine. Because they're all like W4A33-1-UNN or like WNN, or there's a whole bunch of them. And that last 4 code determines basically what car it came out of, whether it was even an Eclipse or a Diamante or Mitsubishi GTO, SR, or whatever it was. That number determines that, right? So eventually I get the Japanese version of the Mitsubishi after sales application, ASA, installed. I find this transmission code, and this definitely came out of 91 or 92 Diamante. I think it's a 27F, 4-wheel drive, 4-wheel steering car. And so I'm like, this isn't that hard to figure out. Let's go look up the part number on the front diff. And it says something interesting. It says spec 58. Okay. So then we go look up the front diff on a GTO transmission. And it says spec 72. Well, I know that the GTO transmissions have 72 teeth on the front diff. So that's interesting. So then I go and look up, okay, what's the front diff on a front wheel drive 3000 GT? Spec 58. I know for a fact that the front wheel drive cars have a final drive of 3.978. And the all wheel drive ones have a final drive of 4.356. So I'm like, okay, that's a problem. The pinion gear is a different part number on both of those, but it doesn't show how many teeth it has, so I don't know how that relates, but that could affect the ratio. So then I finally get the idea, which I should have had in the beginning. Let's go look at what rear end came in this Diamante. So the GTOs, all-wheel drive autos, similar to the DSMs, came with a 3.307 rear diff. And when you do multiplication through the transfer case and all that stuff, you get a matching ratio for the front diff. Well, guess what rear end the Diamante came with? 3.545, which is the 5-speed rear diff. So basically we had a 5-speed rear diff in the front of the car and a 6 in the back. And that's why it's locking tires up. And so I'm not sure who knows this or doesn't, but I sure didn't know this. I don't think very many people do. if you get a GTO, if you get a Diamante all-wheel drive auto for these cars, run the 5-speed diff. And we'll confirm that when I get back, but that's going to give it a little bit shorter ratio, so I'm not sure I want to do that permanently. But we're going to put a 5-speed diff in it because it's very simple and we have some, and we'll see if the car drives properly. So that's our story. That's why we're not here. If we knew that, maybe we could have switched that rear diff, but we're still kind of running out of time. And I don't want to come out here again with a car that doesn't have any miles on it. We don't know it works. So it would have been like that again. But just for you guys out there, be careful where you get your all-wheel drive automatics from for these 6G72s. I was definitely under the belief that they all had the same final drive. And from what my research has shown so far and the way it acts in the car, they do not. So we're going to try to get some coverage of the races, some mountain driving. I think we're going to Bandimere tomorrow or towards that way. And so we should be able to get some more mountains and things like that. But stay tuned. Check out our shirts on adventureperformance.com. We have these nice green army shirts here.
That's good.
We also got kind of an electric blue. We got the traditional black. Buy what you can, because I've spent a lot of money trying to get this transmission to work this week, and we didn't get the payoff we wanted. We are, just to let a real secret out, we're working on another website. It's going to be revengeauto.com. It's going to have 3 or 4 million parts on it for any car you own. And we're going to continue to support the 3000 GT and Stealth with Revenge Performance for the foreseeable future, as long as I possibly can. But we're also going to support a whole bunch of other platforms, and we're just going to have those sites kind of linked back and forth. You'll be able to tell, that we're the same company. And just do what you can to help us, and we'll help you get some revenge on your ride.
In the right lane. Left lane, chair back quick. We've got to pass him with the pedal level flat.
First run up the tag. If we wouldn't get demonetized, I'd start playing Going the Distance.
Here's your leader. In the right lane. PS10.
Not that we're monetized anyway. Engines thumping and bumping in time.
In second place. Second place, 303 is well done. That's right now, 549. Mike Garce. We gave him huge stats here.
Revenge Performance is the place to get the parts and the advice to help right the wrongs on your vehicle. We partner with the industry leaders in parts distribution and warehousing to get you the best possible prices, the widest selection of parts, and the fastest shipping. With our real-time inventory on our website, if we say we have it in stock, it's ready to ship. From us or from our many national distribution partners. With hundreds of thousands of parts available, I guarantee we can get revenge on your ride.